games of the season. I would say this to you. You know what? I personally think it's going to be a very interesting season coming up for the Eagles. Let's go over to our friend here, Mike Quick. We really appreciate him coming aboard. And Mike, I want to start the show off by doing this. I appreciate you stepping in. Let me show this here to you.
What do you got there?
See, it says Jerome Brown on it.
Oh, sweet. Sweet. There you go.
Yeah, hey, man, thanks
Thanks
so much for joining us here. Mike, we had Brian Baldinger on with us yesterday.
Yep.
And he's very optimistic about some of the things that the Eagles did a year ago because they played a lot of young guys. And he was more under the aspect that he thinks their offensive line is going to be better than what people believe. He thinks their front four on defense is going to be better than what people think. This is really all going to come down to the quarterback play this year, isn't it?
So I think you're exactly right, Dan. If you I like Baldinger's assessment, and he knows offensive linemen much better than I. But when you look at Nate Herbig and all the snaps that he got last year, Sua Opeta, Jack Driscoll, young guys like that, and they got an opportunity to play a lot of snaps. I think it just makes for a strong offensive line. None of these guys are the starters. And then also at the left tackle spot, I just think there's so much talent on this offensive line. When you look at, you start in the middle with Kelsey, and you got Brooks, and you got Lane Johnson, and you got some aging guys, but extremely talented guys. But when and if one of those guys go down, you have these guys that had so much time on the field last year that you're comfortable that they can step in now, and you don't miss a beat. The offensive line, I think, is going to be one of the better O-lines in football. It really boils down to the quarterback and quarterback play, because I'll take it a step further. The wide receivers, they're young, but they're so talented, so gifted. And the group of running backs that they'll line up this year all have different skill sets, all very talented. Yes, it gets back to Jalen Hurts and how well the quarterback plays.
I've heard so much about Mulata, too, the offensive tackle. Yesterday, Baldy said that he could be the best offensive tackle in the National Football League. So maybe through the 4-11-1 season last year, Mike, there was a silver lining here. Like you were just saying, some of the guys, they were able to play more people and get more depth. Because I said this one, I thought one of the deficiencies going into this year, Mike, was going to be depth. Baldy, and I'm guessing you were saying the same thing, that no, last year probably created depth. Is that maybe a silver lining from a year ago?
That is exactly right. I thought Jack Driscoll was really good last year. And one of the things they're doing with him this season in the preseason, they're cross-training him. Not only does he play the right tackle spot, now he's playing a lot of guard. And they're trying to make sure that in the event, and, this is the National Football League. It's a battle of attrition. So guys are going to go down. So to make sure that I've got somebody that I'm comfortable with, that's talented enough to step in and play those roles, is what they've been doing. I love that part of what this organization is doing.
Mike, do you believe that Jalen Hurts is an NFL quarterback? I'll take one step further. Yes, he's an NFL quarterback, but do you believe he can lead a football team?
Yet to be seen, yet to be determined. And I haven't seen enough that I could say yay or nay to that, Dan. I think he's really talented. I've seen inconsistencies, but I've also seen some great play out of him. His ability to run the football, which is a big part of the National Football League these days. When you watch how college football is affecting the NFL, and so many of these guys now with the ability to move around and run, to extend plays, he does all of that. But the question is, can he stand in the pocket and deliver? When you need him to just stand in the pocket and be the quarterback that can just be a distributor, like a point guard. Many times that's what you need your quarterback to do. That's who you need your quarterback to be. Now, when he proves that he can do that, then I can give you a definite yes. But to me, I haven't seen enough to go one way or the other on that.
Mike, it's a different NFL than when you played. Guys could mug you at the line of scrimmage, and you had to fight your ass off to get down the sidelines. Today, you can't touch these receivers. Targeting rules are out there. So it probably favors a lot of these receivers coming out of college like Devonta Smith. And I'll ask you, he's great in space. I saw what he did at the SEC and what he did at Alabama. Yeah. There's not that type of space, though, when you're in the NFL to make your moves and stuff. I mean, really, these things, they go from barn doors to portholes for you
Right.
to be precise and running exact routes. Give me your assessment so far of him, because again, I think if he's in traffic, we could have a different conversation. If he's in space, I think he's electric. Am I
Yeah,
fair?
I agree with that. But one of the things that I see from him is that he has the ability to create the space. I've watched guys at the line of scrimmage trying to get hands on him, and his feet are so good. He's very elusive at the line of scrimmage. And when you're able to do that and they miss when they're trying to get their hands on you at the line of scrimmage, then they're at your mercy when you're a wide receiver. And he is slight. If they get their hands on him, yeah, he could be at a disadvantage. But I think he's so good at getting off of pressure. I think he's so good at running routes and understanding that he's not a strong guy that's going to muscle you, but he has the feet and the quickness and the awareness as a wide receiver to put you in a position where he can use leverage and get away from you. I think the kid is fantastic. I understand the concerns about the size, and they're legitimate concerns, but I think the kid's fantastic.
Merrill Reese, we had him on a couple weeks ago. He said in the 50 plus years covering the Eagles, he says he's never seen anything like it, where a guy is as electric as that. And I
What?
agree with everything.
Whoa. Merrill Reese said that? So my partner, he never saw me play?
I was like this. What about your boy Quick and Carmichael?
Yeah.
Those guys were tremendous football players. I mean, Merrill, I love Merrill there.
No,
Hey,
I completely get what he's saying, though. That the kid is fantastic, and I think he's going to be a great pro. I'm looking forward to watching him. And the entire group of receivers, I think it's a really good, young, talented group. There are many people are talking about, well, I think they should bring in a veteran wide receiver so that they have somebody to model. I don't agree. I think that this is a good young bunch. I think I'll enjoy watching them grow together and get the experience that they need and just become talented pros.
Mike, I think the one other thing that you look at, and as you know, the quarterback has to be essential in getting the football to those guys.
Yes.
The offensive line has to be able to block for those guys, but the quarterback's got to rely on the head coach or the play caller to be able to put these guys in positions to be successful as well. And so would we also add that as a dynamic into the development of the wide receiving core and the quarterback? Is the development of Nick Sirianni? It's one thing to be a coordinator, Mike, as you know, but then when you got to put the main headset on and you got to deal with everything going on, that transition is a little bit more tougher than what people think it is, going from coordinator to head coach. That's got to play into the dynamic, no?
Yeah, there's no question. And I do believe, Sean Stitcham, he's the offensive coordinator, but it's mainly Nick Sirianni. There has to be a learning curve, for him to be a first-year head coach, and all of these guys that are in new positions. And there's nothing wrong with being in a new position because we all have to get a start somewhere. And I think they're talented enough to be successful in what they're doing, but there's a learning curve. And I'm hoping that it's not a big curve, but because the National Football League, they're not going to wait for you to get better. So hopefully these guys sooner than later will figure it out. And when they're going up against these smart coaches that know how to change, not just at halftime and give you different things, but from series to series, change what they do, completely scrap what they do and show you different things. They have to be able to handle that. They had the practices with the New England Patriots last week. First day, everything went great for the Eagles. Defense was killing the Patriots and everything, they looked great. The very next day, Bill Belichick scrapped everything that they were doing, put in a whole different set of plays the next morning in the walkthrough, and ran a completely different offense at them. You have to be able to make those type of adjustments when the smart guys in this league are able to throw that type of curveball at you.
Couple last questions for you here, Mike. You know as well as I do, when you go I went from Tom Landry to my college coach and Jimmy Johnson when they got into Dallas, and it was a completely different mentality. There was energy in the room. I know we didn't have a very good year that first year, 1-15, but still there was a different energy. But we also had to put down things that we were comfortable with Coach Landry. And I'm kind of putting a comparison into this. There was a lot of success with Doug Peterson, a lot of success with him.
Yes.
And a lot of the veteran guys are kind of maybe set in their ways, but now there's a new energy in the building and Nick Sirianni and his group. How's that transition going? Because as you know this, you don't want guys whispering in corners in this. Are they all on board with Nick where I'm going here with this?
Well, I think you almost have to be when you're a player and at least give the guy a chance. And I think in giving Nick Sirianni a chance, an opportunity, I think you find a really good guy when you do that. And I think you find a very smart guy in terms of his football knowledge when you do that. I think you find a guy who's very driven in the way that he does things. And he has a great way about him. I wanted to hold judgment, but I like the guy. I like conversation with him. I like how football smart he is. I like his energy. There's so many things that to me are likable about the guy. And I have to add this in. He was also a wide receiver. So I got love for I got love for the guy because he played my position. But I do believe that the veteran guys, they're buying into what he's selling. And right now, everything just looks like it's on par. Everything looks like it's going well. And even on the defensive side, Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator, I was talking to him one day, and he mentioned something. He had made a call on the second day when they were practicing against the Patriots, and he realized that the call was wrong, and he put his guys in a tough position. In the film room the very next day, he apologized. He got in front of the guys and apologized that, hey, I messed up there. I should not have. This is what I should have done. Dude, that sort of stuff goes a long way with those veteran guys. They know that he knows what he's doing. But then when you do something and it's questionable, you own it. You stand up in front of the guys and you own that. I just think that the way they've gone about things, I think it goes a long ways with not just the veteran, but these young guys that are learning their way in the National Football League.
Mike, finally here, and I'm going to be vague in the question and how I'm asking, but I know you'll know where I'm going here. You know, there's criticism publicly, and maybe because you're around the team every day. You know, you always hear this, and you hear this in Dallas. There's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
When it comes to preparing for a Sunday, I know Doug Peterson very well. And when you have upstairs and you have upper management involved in game day rosters and group settings and all that stuff, it can become a problem for a head coach on who's going to play on Sunday and who's not. Is that media myth, or is there something to that where there's sometimes with Philadelphia, and this may have been why it unraveled at the end here a little bit for Doug Peterson, just too many cooks in the kitchen. Is it a fair criticism, or is it a media criticism that's fake news?
No, I think it's a fair criticism. I think that the bosses of this team are involved, and quite honestly, I don't know if I wouldn't be if I owned the team. You know, when I'm king, I make the rules, and so yeah, it's part of what you deal with when you're head coach in Philadelphia. I think that you have to be in conjunction with the management, upper management, because they're involved in the decision making, and that's just a fact of being a head coach in Philadelphia. It just quite honestly is.
Mike, my friends right now are debating Dick Vermeil on Hall of Fame status, and I was talking to Rick Gosselin as early as this morning, and there's a push to make him a Pro Football Hall of Fame. Just your closing thoughts on Dick Vermeil potentially being a Hall of Fame football coach.
So I'm glad that Dick is in the final balloting, in that final group. And I was there for Harold Carmichael's ceremony just a couple of weeks ago, and it was such a great time. But God, there were certain things that I just hated about being there. I couldn't find a good hotel, and I hated the hotel. And I said, you know what? I don't think I'm ever coming back to this town. But if and when Dick Vermeil goes in, I have to go back because he means that much to me. I think he should be a Hall of Famer. I think he's contributed well more than enough to the game to be in that league, in that class of the guys who will be enshrined and will be a part of pro football mortality for ever in perpetuity.
Absolutely. Mike, I can't tell you how I appreciate you taking time and finding time for us here. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And I love listening to you and Merrill on the call, calling those Eagle games. Over these decades, it's been really a lot of fun listening to you guys. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you very much, Dan. Enjoy being with you, buddy.
You got it. That is the great Mike Quick, part of the broadcast team from the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get to all your comments. Let me see where we are here now. As you could see at the top of the hour, I was carrying things here. All right, so we're going to get to all of your thoughts. By the way, if I missed any of them, please repost them. We'll go through your questions. I ended on the Chargers. And by the way, right now we're sitting at 4-5. We'll pick up because we're talking about the Eagles' schedule going into the 2021 season. We'll do the Cowboys tomorrow. We're going to stay in the NFC East. We'll pick it all up when we come back. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.